Welcome to Troy, Alabama. I'm Dima Mixon. That's Jackson Howell. That's Austin Lindsay, and we're here live. Southern Miss falls to Troy. That is a big scoreboard behind us, gentlemen, and that big scoreboard says 27-10, Troy. First initial thoughts, Jackson, up in the press box, sitting next to me, talking a lot to me, actually.
Well, here's the thing. The Southern Miss defense played like Hector, but the Southern Miss offense played like Paris. It just wasn't a very good offensive performance tonight. Abysmal almost. You had 3 Zach Wilkie interceptions, followed by a fumble, which led to the final touchdown by Troy, which sealed it. Just not a great performance, and you got to pick up some slack for your defense because they play their tails off. Even though they gave up some big plays tonight, you got to get the offense figured out. Southern Miss still hasn't quite grasped that yet.
Austin, you're on the field taking video. What was your first initial thoughts coming off the field?
My first immediate thoughts were that simply the same thing as Jackson. The offense has to get it together. There were plenty of opportunities for this offense to change the game, and they did not do it. And going back to the last game, 2 weeks ago versus Tulane, you would think that the offense would kind of have this turnaround with the rest that they had, but it wasn't the case this week, and they kind of took a step back this week. Like Jackson said, 4 turnovers this week, and they basically only scored 3 points without a turnover. When you think about it, they only scored the one touchdown off of an interception by Cam Morrell early on in that first half. So offense just has to get better. Simple as that. Defense played phenomenal.
Yeah, and I understand that the offense didn't play good, and obviously we all three of us here know that was the best defense they're probably going to face in the Sun Belt. This is a great Troy defense. But here's my thing. They've had 2 weeks to get prepared for this. You'd at least think that they would be able to scheme up something working. But, Jackson, it didn't seem like anything. What worked for the offense tonight?
Really, the only thing was just throw it to Jason Brownlee and hope he can make a play. I've got here 16 targets. I actually thought it was a little bit more than that. Yeah. Brownlee made a career high.
How many of those were Wilkie's passes?
All of them? Oh, I got here. Dang, you put me on the spot. So 12 completions, or 12 receptions by Jason Brownlee, 19 completions by Zach Wilkie. So only 7 of his passes were caught by people not named Jason Brownlee. But I want to say Brownlee, career high in receptions, had 12 for 105 and a touchdown. He had a solid game, but you got to get those other guys going. There's more to this offense than Jason Brownlee, and that's the only thing they were able to do, and it was kind of shocking to see, considering that Ja'Carius Caston torched Tulane, and I think he only had like one target.
Yeah, Ja'Carius Caston, actually in our bold predictions video, I said he was going to have a pretty good night, and he didn't even get the ball until the middle of the third quarter. Austin, I mean, I asked Will Hall this just a minute ago in the postgame. It seems like you want to spread it out a little bit to these receivers. Like I understand Jason Brownlee's good; he's probably the most talented receiver, but you got to get it going. They got to. I mean, they tried some swing passes, but they really didn't threaten. The other receivers did not threaten Troy at all.
Yes, and I think that was the thing that Troy realized is that Jason Brownlee's, he's a generational talent. He's a talented player right there. And just the scheme, it seemed like Brownlee was going to do what he was going to do. It's hard to stop Brownlee. And we saw that early on with the touchdown that he got to set the tone of the game, 7-3 early on in the first quarter right there, the first half. And you think about it, and Troy completely shut down everybody. The wide receiving core was non-existent. Caston, like you said, you thought that he would have a great game building up to the hype that he had continued to do all season. He was continuing to improve. But like I said, today was a step back, being that you had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. And for them to come out and squabble this game like this, it's just simply kind of absurd to think about when you think of just how they came out and played. For the last 3 weeks or so, you had not had a single turnover. And then you come to this game. Troy is a great defense. But the offense had time to prepare for this, and this is what came to be. It was kind of sad to see here.
And I do think, to Wilkie's credit, the first 2 interceptions weren't really his fault. I mean, one kind of tipped in a really, really actually insane interception for the first one. The second one, I mean, I don't even know how the linebacker got that ball. He kind of just looked up at the right time. But the third and fourth, I think he had 3, right? 3. Yeah. So the third one was pretty bad. But
interception on one of them. So
yeah. But to Wilkie's credit, this is a great defense, and this happens to every offense, right? That not a lot of offenses get a lot of production against Troy, and I know that the things that Southern Miss has struggled with this year has been the offensive side of the ball, but Will Hall just said in the press conference that it's on him that the offense should have been better. Jackson, what do you think about that?
I mean, you make the great point about Troy's defense, but they're not 2011 11 Alabama. So you still have to come up with yards against this team. And what do you do going forward? I really don't know. You got to work with Wilkie. I know earlier in the week, Will Hall, I asked him if having Ty Keys out meant that Wilkie would have more confidence going into this game, and he actually said the opposite. He said that not having that competition to force Wilkie to be better, he said he was afraid of that being a problem that might have attributed to this game. So maybe get somebody having competitive reps with the ones, really light a fire under Zach Wilkie, and that might prove more successful for the Southern Miss offense.
The offense had a lot of struggles tonight, but let's move over to the defensive side of the ball and talk about them. I think the one positive tonight, Scott Watkins actually pointed it out to Will Hall. One of the positives tonight, defensive line got all up in Daigie's face. What do you say about that, Dawson?
Yes, they pressured him. He was not comfortable. He was not comfortable. The only thing that was comfortable about Daigie was just simply hitting the wide receivers over the middle when he had time to throw the ball. And, you know, obviously, the defensive line got a little bit tired, little tired at the end of the game, so he had the opportunity to open up the offense there. But towards the beginning of the game, Troy was not moving the ball either. Southern Miss actually had better ball position early on in the game. They just didn't take advantage of it. And the defense played well. They got out of a lot of situations. I know specifically the Jay Stanley interception right there in the first half was a huge momentum turner for Southern Miss, but it didn't capitalize off anything. So I think the defense made opportunities for the offense. They didn't capitalize. I think the defense played well. Like I said, it was 10-7 at half when it should have been 27-7 or something at halftime. And I think the defense kept them in the game longer than they should have.
Yeah, I mean, it's 27-10 up there, so that's a combined 37 points. 27 of those points came off of turnovers, so both defenses played good. Jackson, a lot of Troy's early success was over the middle of the field. I asked Will Hall, you know, is it due to the linebackers being out? He said no, that they're just going to get yards. Your response?
I think that's a solid point. You think about it, Austin Armstrong likes to bring the house. He likes to blitz the quarterback. Do that kind of does free up the middle of the field. So you might be onto something a little bit with the lack of linebacker depth, but you know, when you bring the house, you're susceptible to pass plays across the middle if you don't get there in time, and that's exactly what we saw. As the game progressed, that middle of the defense kind of stiffened a little bit, and Troy wasn't able to do much outside of getting short field from Southern Miss turnovers. So they rebounded, but that wasn't what lost Southern Miss this game, not at all.
And just to add to that, just Southern Miss's rotation is huge. They come in with a lot of depth, and we saw a lot of interchangeable pieces there for the secondary. If you paid attention to the game, you saw Natron Brooks would get switched out with Toles, and Toles, Eric Scott, who came in a bit banged up in the week, got switched out with Michael Caraway and stuff like that. So you saw
PI on Michael Caraway in the end zone there.
Yeah, so also you had other guys like Jay Jones and other people like that. So you have a lot of young guys in the secondary that were getting opportunities and playing time, and I don't know if that was a experience thing or whatever it was, but the middle of the field was open also, not just due to the linebacking core, but because you had so many people coming in and out. I think that Troy got a little comfortable right there with those guys and got some open passes and stuff.
Yeah, and it did come down a little bit to just the veteran quarterback. Daigie's been doing it. Wilkie hasn't as much as him, so that does make a difference in the game, and especially since this is on the road. I think that about does it. So turnovers, sacks just plague Southern Miss's offense. You'd think that after they'd have 2 weeks to prepare for this, they'd have a little bit more fight. Then again, I mean, this is the best defense Southern Miss is probably going to face this year. Arkansas State next week for homecoming. I think they're losing right now to James Madison. I don't know the actual score, but so maybe both teams coming into it from a loss, coming in 42-20. Okay. So that's all for us in this little video. Thanks for watching. That's Jackson, that's Austin, and I'm Dima, reporting live from Troy University. Southern Miss 27-10 lose at Troy. We'll see you next time.